session for the mayor and council for the city of Snellville for Monday, August the 26th, 2019. So first we'll go through the regular business meeting agenda. We have Deacon Randy Ori from St. Oliver should be here to give the invocation. That Chuck is going to give the pledge.
Unless I get bumped.
Unless he gets bumped by.
He got bumped last week. We had a better offer.
We did.
Then we've got the minutes. We've got a few department reports. Butch said that Chris O'Donohue won't be here. He's got a sick child. So.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Then we have the public hearing for the American Pet Resort. Anybody have any questions or anything to go through here before we get to the meeting?
I just want to say that staff did an excellent job negotiating,
Yes.
getting everything turned and right, and getting extra pervious concrete. Hats off to them. Great job.
Very good. We've got nothing under old business. Under new business, have a little matter of a development agreement.
Little matter.
Oh, is that tonight?
Oh, I forgot all about that.
When it's finalized, I'll get together and read it with Butch if it's okay.
Sure.
Are you, I take it you're being
Facetious.
facetious.
I think you should get the motion
For what?
for that.
For being
For,
facetious?
no, for your longevity on
my
this
lo-
project.
My longevity
I'm
on
serious,
what?
yeah, I'm serious.
On what?
Town center.
What are we talking about?
Usually it's quicker than this.
Pet paradise, you make the motion on the pet paradise.
Yeah, never
Oh,
mind.
Pet Paradise, I'm fine. I
I was kind of.
the development
degree
agreement,
to
I would
which-
think that would be,
No, that's you, because
Why?
you're.
Well, it can't be me, so
It's you. You've been the time
I
period
guess
that
you're
you've been
nominated.
involved in this.
oh, okay.
y'all can work that out.
Yeah. the
We'll
time-
arm wrestle.
Unless you're
This
slow
is a
on the
state-
button.
ceremonial.
Dave and I will arm wrestle.
Unless you're
No.
slow.
You know,
on the
Roger's gonna show up, he'll be fast on the button tonight.
Well, I hope he
I'm
gets.
sorry, Barbara, I'll stop him.
If he doesn't, he's not gonna get any.
All right, everyone.
button. You're out of order,
It's not
Mr. Warner.
Back to new business.
Anybody
Point of
want a
order.
potato?
Item B, we have a first reading for the short-term rentals. Anybody have any issues or comments at this point? Then we have a first reading on the burn ban. And then we have the first read on the enforcement article and property maintenance article, just updating some of the references in that. And then St. Oliver's,
What's the date of the next meeting?
September the 9th.
September 9th.
And then St. Oliver's is gonna use the stage for September 21st.
Oh, no.
Okay? So that's it for the regular meeting.
9919.
Any correspondence?
No.
We
Any-
do need to have a executive session on real estate and a couple of litigation matters.
All right, ongoing projects?
We have a lot of good things happening tonight. The Postal Service will be here for their public hearing at 6:30. It's the reason for why we're meeting early. And we do have a final draft of a development agreement. A few changes, I guess we'll talk about that in exec session, but everything's for the best. And we're ready to recommend it. As far as the work with the county and the plan and design work, as I said last time, the county and the library is on board with the site work plans. And I've met with TSW. They are revising their contract. It should not affect the county IGA at all. And I know we're kind of amending the county IGA a little bit, so, which won't require readoption. So city marketing, the quality of life publication will be out there this week. We had a little mix-up on printing, but it will be out and,
We have an update here, Butch.
Oh.
They have been reprinted and are at Regina's desk as we speak.
how about that?
Yes.
Good deal, good deal. Johnny and Wayne will have a little assistance at their disposal
All
then.
right.
The UDO, TSW and staff have been working through those issues. Jason, I guess we don't, do we have a, we know when we're gonna get something back?
Calendar forthcoming
Okay.
some point this week about the finishing.
So Caleb had some time last week to dig through things and
He did, we spoke at length about some of the issues, and then he's gonna give us a calendar on turning everything back around and getting it approved.
Okay, good, good. Because we need to get the mayor and council involved as soon as we can. Roundabout construction, really, E.R. Snell, you probably noticed some work there at Ridgedale and Fars. We have only had one call from one of the property owners that we addressed and took care of an issue there thanks to Roy. She thought some people were speeding through there a little bit, and we put the, not the trailer out there, but the monitor, so she's happy. The 78 and 124, I mean, there really isn't an update there. The major work will be done by Christmas. The remaining asphalt work is targeted for the end of October.
Butch, what's the date we can go live on writing tickets there? Or chief?
For what?
We wrote 21 the last 2 weeks.
Okay, all right. I thought we had to give them 30-day grace period, because I'm seeing more
Not
idiots
for, only
there.
for certain things that change, but not for running a red light.
Okay.
So, have we had a lot of accidents in the
We've had
intersection?
11,
Oh,
but
wow.
we had 10 last year, the same month. We got a lot of people going down the wrong way, but they don't know they can't make a right turn. So tomorrow, I'm gonna go out there, when I get back from the chiefs meeting, and see if there's something else we need to do to keep them from making the right turn northbound 124 into the left turn lane.
Right,
So,
right.
had one tonight, we stopped on the
There
way
was
over.
another one just as I came over
Yeah.
today. Everybody honking.
Maybe, I wonder if they can just on the lane, if they can just do straight arrows. You know, as you're coming up 124.
Well, they probably can. I mean, I'm gonna go look and see if there's
Yeah.
anything they can do to make it better, because we still have too many people doing it.
Yeah.
So,
It's awfully inviting to want to turn in that little lane there.
well, and then what's funny is when they come through it and they wanna cross over the eastbound lanes and go to the westbound lanes.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch, they're doing all this.
Yeah.
Like,
And they get stuck in the intersection a lot of times.
Well, that's because the light cycle is not being timed because the strips are not there. So what you have is the cars that are coming and getting in the left turn lane to go south on 124.
Yeah.
You got traffic stopped on 78 when there's nothing there and that light's just red,
Yeah.
which backs people up to
Right,
78, I mean, to 124.
right.
So, there's
They
gonna
still
be some
gotta work
issues
out
till
some
it's
stuff,
finished,
yeah.
but, overall, it's not that much worse than it. I mean, there was some talk, there was several head-on collisions out there. There was one, but it's because the guy ran the light and turned into a car. But it would have happened if we hadn't done any work out
Right, right.
It seems to me like the east-west traffic is moving
there.
better.
It seems to move better.
You get a few more cars through and,
Well, I noticed at the farmer's market, you used to look out and they were backed up, and now you don't see the backups.
yeah.
like
you really
used to.
don't.
Well, that's the key thing there. SDS negotiations, we have a called meeting Wednesday evening where the city committee will report back to the IGR group. That's at 6 o'clock at Lawrenceville City Hall.
And there's some stuff that we should probably talk about too.
Okay. That Randy didn't answer me when I sent that stuff I had to him, and that email I sent you,
Okay.
he never called me back.
The SPLOST program, I really don't have an update there. Things still look very positive, and once again, several ordinances on the agenda for a first read. So we'll keep moving there. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer. That's all I've got.
Okay, then we have discussion on expansion of the town center overlay district.
I think you wanted to expound on that?
Well, we're we've already been bit with car wash where we didn't want a car wash. We've got the Puppy Palace going in down at 124 and 78 that I think is gonna be a nice addition, not necessarily what we planned, but we don't own the property, so.
Should be
I would
taxed.
just like us to see taking it out to what we had done back in 2007 as far as our town center charrette designing and take the overlay district out to that boundary or some change thereof. Maybe take it down to 78 to Fountain Drive, and that way we're able to better control development. Because as we start kicking things off here, when people see that, like Matt, see that we're actually moving along, that they're gonna start buying up these properties or pulling the trigger on them. And we would rather them develop more cohesive to our town center and it all be kind of tied together rather than a hodgepodge of junk. So that's just was what my thought was.
I think, we had this discussion at the beginning, or maybe the very beginning of the UDO and then with the comp plan. And, I think the ideal location for the overlay to expand would be to cover the town center land use that we just adopted in the comp plan, which is the big, burgundy core in the middle. And it gets Pet Paradise and kind of gets the whole core goes out to Snellville Oaks. But the issue with the overlay is we've got a couple things working. We have an overlay which was crafted many years ago to control architectural standards.
Right.
And not necessarily use provisions, because the use provisions are governed by the underlying zoning, which allows for the Pet Paradise. So when I was just talking to Caleb this week, I asked that he include use provisions in the town center overlay, so if there are parcels that are already zoned, because they don't have to come back to you guys. If they're not zoned and they wanna go into these new town center zonings, they have to come see you guys, so you see those projects. And so that way, we could restrict uses based on the town center uses within the overlay and basically have that blanket protect any of the other properties where we're kind of left on an island, where they have an underlying zoning. They're in the town center land use district, but they're not necessarily, they don't have to change to do something. So before, the overlay wasn't written like that, so he's gonna change that to restrict uses, which I think is what you're trying to
Yeah.
get at.
Yeah.
Well, both the use and the architecture.
And then the issue, right, so the architecture would basically mimic what's in the new town center ordinance. But what we would have to do, and we have to kind of lean on city attorneys for, is once we expand that overlay, there's a due process that has to be followed too, because you're basically changing the zoning properties. So we have to make sure that would basically be a map adoption, where you would expand the boundaries and therefore you're legislating more rules. You have to just make sure you do that part right. And that was part of the reason we didn't do that a couple of years back, just because of kind of we wanted to make sure we got the town center part done. So that's something we could do as part of the adoption of UDO, or sooner, or however you want to do it. But most of this stuff is, in the core, is protected because people are gonna want to change to the new zoning, not keep
Right,
this.
but particularly because it will be forced place zoning on some of those existing parcels, that we may want to go ahead and start the work on, because there is a due process. It's going to take probably 90 days. So if we get started on that, by the time we adopt the UDO, that should already almost be, we should be neck and neck.
Yeah, I'll follow up and see how we do it, but that was the issue with the last time.
Okay.
But I agree, because you're gonna have some relics that you don't really want lived in.
Yeah, and I don't want to take anybody's property use away from them, just as we saw with the issue with the car wash. We might want to make sure that going forward, someone's not grandfathered in a use that we don't really care for. That's all.
Jason, can you go ahead and email out to us this week a map of the current town center overlay district, and then where
I've
you
got
would
all those, yeah.
expect it to go.
Gonna overlay it over the town center land use, and anything outside of that, we would just expand it to the borders, which seems like the most natural way to define the area. If we're gonna define it based on land use, we should have all the zones match
Yeah.
that boundary. That's kind of got real confusing, because there's a corridor overlay, we're doing away with that. And we're gonna just make those improvements based on street sizes, so there won't be a corridor overlay improvement anymore. So you just had so many overlays working and underlying zoning, it just got real messy.
Well, Dave and I have started very haven't even gotten anywhere, preliminary discussion about extending
Open meeting
the
plus AC.
the connector road that Evermore has been working on. That parallels 78. And W.H. Britt had approached me a few weeks ago about the property that Jack Pole, Carpet Depot, that little strip shopping center up there. It's landlocked, isolated, you barely can get to it. That they're wanting to offload that, and that may be a good transportation node for future, if we're able to get a bus rapid transit to come up that side road. But that kind of planning takes a while, but we need to make sure that we protect ourselves on the front end. So that's, to me, why it's important to make sure that little area there gets tied in. And maybe that's a discussion we want to have as council, what's appropriate to go there. But
Can we close the little hole for subsequent use where the car wash went? Because we have the town center overlay here, and then there's a little island, which is where where the car wash went.
Well, it's more than an island, it's just where the town center overlay, when they built it originally, was much smaller in scope. So, like I said, then that didn't dictate use, that dictated form.
Right.
So it was more of a form-based code where the underlying, and it did give you some additional uses, like some higher density residential to mix in, so it gave you a little bit more. It's kind of like the first step in, venturing into that town center. So the scope is much smaller, and probably based on, Doug Spawn's thing over there in Wisteria. And then now the idea has grown, the space has grown, and the same loop, you just have to expand it and then change the verbiage. So there's no easy fix for that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if, let's say the car wash doesn't make it, and somebody comes in, decides to buy it and put up, we're in the same situation at that point.
There, right now, and that's not in either overlay, so you just have to, the tools are there. I think I understand what you guys want.
yeah, and one of my concerns is from the racetrack, all the way up around, with the exception of cobblestone, almost all of that is vacant up to KFC.
Yeah, and that may be a special area that you want to really look at kind of separately from the town center.
Well,
You want to include that in because.
It is so visible, particularly now with that wonderful right turn lane and traffic flowing better through the intersection of 78, 124. I'm just concerned that someone's gonna come in, cobble all that together and hit us with something that maybe we hadn't thought of and really don't want. I wanna be proactive and make sure that we give a pretty good, clear directive as a city, what style and type of use we prefer there.
And you're right, Todd, there's about 18 acres that's been on and off the market right behind that. But if they put that 18 acres with that
That
commercial
would,
strip.
that would come before you guys.
Yeah, but it's awfully hard to say, well, no, that's not what we were thinking. I'd much rather have,
In the front.
put a plan out there of future,
Well, there's a plan right now.
Well,
The 2040 plan, we just adopted, so.
Yeah.
I'll send that out.
and I just, it didn't, it didn't gel in my brain at that point when we were going through that this was right for redevelopment that quickly. So like I said, I just don't want to get hit out of the blue with apartments or an extended stay hotel or a dog track or.
So very profitable.
Brian votes yes for a dog track. He's fired.
Okay, so we'll go to item C, an update about the election procedures for November. Melissa did send out an email this past week about the situation there. Melissa, just, if you want to just kind of give everybody an overview for the people in the room that weren't part of the email or what's been going on with elections.
There was the lawsuit that was filed about the DREs being used by cities, and there was some question as to whether the cities, well, not just cities, it was actually counties, but the cities were kind of pulled into that lawsuit, and optical scan machines, which is what we use, were possibly affected. Nothing was ever made totally clear, but in the end, they did rule that whoever was using those machines could continue using them through 2019. So we're fine to be able to use them. ESNS, the company that used to program everything needed, pulled out of the state of Georgia because they awarded the bid to a different company. So that also left the city stranded and the counties that are having elections. But the state's stepping in. They're partnering with some ESNS techs that are still in the state of Georgia. And we're going to be able to work through those techs with the state to get everything programmed that we needed. So even though everything kind of fell apart, a lot of people have pulled together to be able to make it happen. So we're okay to go
And
the way we've done it.
God forbid we have a runoff, it'll
Oh, we probably will.
it'll take place
Pretty-
before
Pretty
the end of the
near.
year.
December the 3rd, yes,
Yeah.
would be the runoff. So, yeah. And
No
with 4
Christmas
people
tree.
qualified for 1 seat, like I said in the email, I'm afraid we probably will have a runoff.
No Christmas trees.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be able to put up my
Good
land
they
of
all
misfit
showed up to
toys.
introduce themselves, so.
Next, we have item D, discussion on the short-term rentals in residential areas. That's on the agenda for a first read for tonight. Does anyone have any other comments or?
Yeah, I suggested some minor changes. You want to just do that and send it back? Just some verbiage to clear up some things in terms of, what about less than a day? Less than an overnight?
Yeah.
Because
Good
if
point.
they're using it for sex trafficking, I can come in and say, okay, I want it from 12 to 11 at night, and that wasn't covered in the ordinance.
So no less than 24 hours, no greater than.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna make it for rentals that are less than 31 days.
Period.
Period.
And then just some things to define better where they can park. That would be
That's,
okay.
yeah.
okay.
Well, thanks, Dave, for being the person to bring that up, because that's not something that I really thought about.
I never thought about it either. till somebody
Until
sure
Todd
it,
brought
and I
up
thought,
why cameras
Oh.
are so important.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I just thought, I hadn't even thought about it.
That's, you have to think outside the
I'm
box.
sorry.
Really.
I'm sorry for that.
Outside our comfort zone.
Yeah.
But that's
Okay,
what
so
we
that's on for a
anticipate.
first read, and then we'll have the second reading then on September the 9th. And then we have the draft ordinance for the fire code enforcement. So we'll be adopting Gwinnett County's fire code and allowing our code enforcement and police to enforce that. Anybody have any questions or adjustments there? All right. Short discussion, and then the code enforcement ordinance. Anybody had any issues with that? That's just clarifying language, some issues in the code. Okay, moving right along then.
All right.
Then we will go into our exec session, and get this done. During the work session of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Bender announced that certain matters should be disclosed in a closed session of the meeting and asked council to advise the city with respect to closing the meeting. City Attorney Powell advised the city the following reasons to close the meeting: to discuss pending and or potential litigation, claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions